MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks, his website rickackerman.com. Welcome back to the show, Rick.
Always a pleasure, Jim. Thank you for inviting me on.
Rick, do you feel the whole attitude around the equity markets, not just in the U.S. and Canada, but around the planet, is changing?
Well, you know, I've said the sky is falling before, even though my technical forecasts have kept me on the right side of the trade. But I really do think the bear market's over. And, the one thing that I found very persuasive was an op-ed piece or a column in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, Tuesday, by Walter Russell Mead, and he looks at the very big picture. You know, he's not concerned about earnings and even a stronger dollar. He says that a world order that has favored the ascendancy of market forces and true capitalism over the last 30 years has come to an end, and it's giving way to nationalistic impulses. Countries sort of covering their butts in geopolitical terms. In a practical way, we see Trump, putting $250 billion worth of tariffs between Chinese goods and U.S. buyers. And that will have its impact, but you can see where the impulse itself to regulate in that way and to tax in that way goes against the economic grain. So what Walter Russell Mead was saying is that countries are going to start acting in their own interest geopolitically, even if it's at the expense of economic growth. So that's a very, very big change, and one which reverses a trend that has favored the markets for 30 years. In that way, it's really hard to see the stock market moving blithely higher. Something really important has changed.
Do you think that governments are going to do more to try to get money out of these multinational companies like Facebook?
Well, that story, it was a kind of a developing story, but it broke as hard news yesterday with the UK's announcement that it was working feverishly, as we might imagine, to find ways to tax the big multinationals like Google and Facebook locally. So when we say locally, don't misconstrue that. They mean everywhere on the planet. And the UK is not the only country that's trying to figure out how to extract more money from these multinationals. Now, they have paid what they themselves describe as their fair share. But what that amounts to, looking at Apple for one, I think Apple had revenues in UK of, I can't remember if it was UK, but it was like $1.2 billion or pounds or euros in revenue versus taxes paid of, I think it was 17 million. So yes, you could argue that that's not exactly their fair share. But, the companies are arguing that if we have local tax rules in 100 different jurisdictions, it's absolutely going to kill business. And without even working the numbers, you know that that's true. That's true. And even as clever as those companies are in finding new ways to make money, this is a very, very stiff headwind. So this is, if you pile on top of what Walter Russell Mead is saying, this idea that all the countries in the world are going to gang up on the leading edge of mostly U.S.-based companies. That's also a very big deal, and I think it's one more, not just an argument, it's a deal killer as far as this bull market goes.
Well, we've seen this attitude before as well. I remember some gold mines in places in South America where the gold mine's doing great and they have a deal with the government, and then the government says, well, you're making a lot of money there. We're going to rewrite this whole deal. And it gets to the point where the gold miners can't make any money and they just shut down.
Yeah, and that's always been an important consideration for anyone who invests in mining stocks. The question is, do you want to invest in mining stocks in Ghana, or would you rather be, buying shares in miners in the Yukon or somewhere where the rules are not so herky-jerky, wishy-washy? But in this case, unfortunately for the companies themselves, there's not a lot of uncertainty about what's coming. You know that initially these countries will try to collect their toll, and I guess even I'll go along with the idea that they're entitled to at least some tax revenues because, Google, Apple, and a whole bunch of them do operate in ways that make them money in these places. But we also know that over time, whatever tax is initially levied against the companies, it will continue to grow and grow and grow until, unbelievably, the goldenest of gooses is dead. So, and it's hard to imagine, what could kill a company with a subscriber base of 2 billion like Facebook, but don't underestimate the power of taxing authorities to tax a good thing to death.
I was going to say, have they ever imposed a tax that they didn't later increase?
Right, and you see that accretion everywhere. Even parking meters in San Francisco, or for that matter, Boulder, Colorado, or anywhere else. They institute a tax that initially even the voters would go along with begrudgingly, especially if the revenues purport to have been dedicated to something we can all agree on, like education. And let me go digress just slightly to say that any tax right now that's being levied for education or anything in the public sphere, any endeavor, is not enhancing whatever it is purporting to enhance. It's simply getting thrown into the sinkhole of pension plans. So if California floats a bond that is said to be raising money for smaller classrooms, for education or whatever, don't you believe it? Almost 100% of that money is going to go to covering the shortfall in public employee pension plans. And it doesn't matter whether they say this bond is to build better roads or to widen this highway or that. You follow the money, and it is only to pay pensions, to keep the illusion alive that these pension systems in the public sector will remain solvent. So the bond will raise money for retired highway workers, transportation workers, but you're not going to see any widening of the roads. So, all right. So to return, I can't even remember what the topic I want to be returning to, but the taxing authorities here are a sure bet to continue to sock it to these big companies. One small detail that may be relevant is that I think Britain's proposed tax, which the social media companies are opposing with every fiber in them, which may not be nearly enough, it would exempt films, and I don't know whether that means Netflix or not, but that's certainly worth checking out. Netflix produces now for commercial distribution outside of the web. So Netflix might be spared the UK's tax, although we know that with as much money as they're making and as big as their subscriber base is, they'll be taxed to death too at some time.
Well, the province of Quebec is taxing Netflix, and
okay.
So they've started to do that, and of course, a lot of governments say it's true. Once you start taxing internet stuff, we have Philadelphia that if you have a blog, they charge you a business license. I don't know, $250, and if they're like most bloggers, you probably don't make much money at all on your site.
Right. That's if you are like most bloggers. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what would happen. Florida has no income tax, but I don't see, and I live down in Boynton Beach, but I don't see myself as somehow immune to some local tax based on business that I'm not really doing. They'll tax gross revenues or something like that. So,
and getting back to parking as well, Vancouver City Council wanted to reduce the number of cars downtown, so they started hiking parking fees, and now they've got to the point where yes, they have 30,000 fewer cars a day in downtown, but local businesses don't have any business because no one can afford to park there.
Yeah, and you should visit Berkeley, in what should be one of the most section of the city that has more vitality than just about any place in the world. We're talking about right off the Berkeley campus in the vicinity of Shattuck, University Avenue. There are so many shuttered stores, you'd be astounded. And the reason is that Berkeley, they've essentially, as you might expect, criminalized automobiles. So one of the ways they made it harder to operate and own a motor vehicle in Berkeley is by eliminating not just the ground, the single level parking lots, but the multi-story parking lots. They tore them down so that when you drive into Berkeley and you want to go shopping at some store, or a bunch of stores, there's no place to park. So that's why there's so many shuttered storefronts in a place that generates enormous foot traffic. Unfortunately, student foot traffic. I don't think they buy anything. You need shoppers to come from the neighborhoods, Kensington and El Cerrito, wherever. You could ostensibly say, you could argue that Berkeley's ideas about cars they're well intentioned, at least as far as people are concerned, not wanting to breathe all that polluted air. But the city, in its zeal to regulate parking and to make it more difficult to park, has killed the economic base of the city.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after this.
Grand Portage Resources recently completed the 2018 drill program on its 100% controlled Herbert Gold Discovery property located in the prolific Juneau Belt in southeast Alaska. Drill results are expected through late 2018. Past drill results included numerous multi-ounce gold assays on multiple veins. Grand Portage trading symbols are GPG on the TSX Venture, GPTRF on the OTCQB, and GPB on Frankfurt. For more information, please visit our website, grandportage.com.
Ackerman Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Ackerman's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at ackermanresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. Rick, with the markets in turmoil right now, do you expect gold is going to pick up?
No. Every time I get, I've going a little bit overboard. I've told my subscribers to view gold as most investors do, which is gold is garbage. And I don't feel that way, obviously. I've got a maple leaf sitting right on my desk to remind me how beautiful gold is, how valuable it's always been. But if we treat it, if we simply treat it as an investable, we want to be on the right side of the trade. And gold has just been nothing but heartache and misery. Every rally goes just far enough to even get guys like me saying, hey, maybe this time it's for real. And even now, I'm tempted to say it's for real, and I'm always in there pitching. Gold has come off a very exuberant high from a few days ago at 12.46. That's the December COMEX contract. It came down. We were looking to buy it this morning at 12.80, and the little sucker has bounced off 60 cents higher. It bounced off 12.13.40. So I'm still in there buying gold, but I don't trust it really. And I think that if it were in a bull market, it would tend to lurch into gear in a way that would leave even the bulls gasping for breath and choking on dust. But it hasn't done that. What it seems to be doing is titillate bulls and punish them more and more. So I don't think gold's in a bull market. And I don't think that the next big thing, which is very deflationary, even though we're sort of coming off this stupid global high, the Fed saying they quote unquote fear inflation, with a quadrillion-dollar derivatives market that is essentially pure unactualized deflation, the whole inflation story is full of baloney. We certainly haven't seen it on the wage end, and, the only place we really see it is in real estate and stock prices. So, a little bit of trickle there in the grocery stores, but I never believed the inflation argument, and I don't believe this argument made supposedly from historical fact that gold has fared best in deflationary times. I think that can only be said, relatively speaking, that gold will hold its own in a deflation. I think the purchasing power of gold, where it is right now, will do just fine come hell or high water. And I also have doubts that gold will get forced below 1,000, currently trading 1217. But I can't get good gung-ho gold. The most I can do is be a cautious buyer with tight stop losses.
What about some people have the theory that the U.S. dollar someday, they don't say when, is going to collapse and gold is going to be the only thing that you can use to buy something?
Well, they are imbeciles, and I've been saying that for 30 years. The dollar index currently trading 97. I think it's going to 120, and that's simply the deflation doing what it does. We are simply not going to escape repayment of all our debts in cheapened dollars. And, that imperative is pushing, the dollar higher. For a while, some of my subscribers had me convinced to look at a head and shoulders pattern on the daily chart, which was essentially bearish for the dollar. So I looked at it, but at some point, and this happened in the last week or two, the rally just destroyed the head and shoulder look of the pattern itself, and it's going to a dollar index target at 98.99 that I've had out since June. So I'm very bullish on the dollar, and it will make it very difficult for debtors all over the world to pay back the dollars they owe. But it will be the locus. It'll be the black hole of deflation. So I'm hugely bullish on the dollar, and it's really what nobody wants, no one needs.
Well, with these detractors of the dollars, my question always is: if the U.S. dollar isn't all that hot, what's going to replace it? What's doing better?
Well, that's another reason why the dollar was never going out of style. You had these stories about Russia or not Saudi Arabia, but Iran, Venezuela. They were going to sell their energy in something other than dollars. But who the hell wants to pay hard currency for oil? The reason the dollar functions so well because those who hold it and pay for oil with dollars get to pay for it in a currency that is more or less infinitely available. Who the hell wants to buy, how much oil would get sold if we had to pay for it with real money, with gold? So, and another reason that all the talk about, the dollar being quote unquote replaced is just a lot of idiotic blather, is that there's no other medium, no currency on this earth that is remotely capable of handling the quadrillion dollars worth of action in global derivatives market. So, we need the dollar. It's the only game in town, and you can't just substitute something else for it. So, to anybody who's talking about, this currency or that, or a basket of currencies, replacing the dollar, they're full of baloney.
Would the cryptocurrencies be a good example of somebody trying to come up with a replacement and then falling flat on their face?
Yeah, I think that's one way of describing it. I mean, I could be a little less charitable and just say it's a giant hoax. Nothing against the blockchain, it has many useful functions, the idea of which, of everybody validating each transaction so that there's, there's no fraud or necessarily even inflation. I think that blockchain is theoretically the source of a very good currency. But the problem with the cryptocurrencies is that as of tomorrow, there could be a Jim Goddard currency or a Rick Ackerman crypto coin. And that's, anybody can create a cryptocurrency, and its value is determined not so much by even limited supply of it as your reputation. So when you can start a currency based mainly on your popularity, you know there's a problem with that currency. So I'm looking for, I've had a 4,700 target out on Bitcoin. The vehicle BRTI is a symbol. It sort of aggregates highest bid, lowest offers across many Bitcoin markets. And I've had a 4,700 target more or less forever, currently trading 6,301. And I would have to say that just because this garbage has been skittering along 6,300 without making that final, actually as I look at it, my target's 4396. But the fact that it's held up at 6,300 for the entirety of this year, it shows that there are a lot of true believers there in what passes for an institutional world in cryptocurrencies. You know, they're trying to look respectable, even as some of these purveyors of cryptos get rifled for who knows how many millions of dollars worth of coins. They just kind of vanish for whatever reason. So the markets are not exactly secure. And even though the big guys, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman, they're all licking their chops trying to figure out how they can not just get in the game but dominate it, you see that they've all pulled back. They don't trust it either. And, you know, I'm not sure that time and tide will allow us the proper interval to buy respectability for cryptos.
We'll have more with Rick Ackerman right after the break.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Rick Ackerman. Rick, what do you see happening on the energy front?
I don't even try to evaluate it other than technically, because on a given day, you typically have two diametrically opposite stories. You'll see that Saudi Arabia is pumping like crazy, the whole price is down, but that, the inventories are running lean. So every single day of the week we get stories that are diametrically opposite with respect to their presumptive impact on energy prices. So I don't even trade it. Let me call up a futures contract here just so I can get the lay of the land. But it's we've come off. My projection was 78.08 basis December crude. We got as high as, let's call it $77. So I missed by $1 before this thing started coming down hard. The only thing I could say technically based on that is that for the fact of having missed the target and come down as hard as it is, crude is now in a downtrend that will take some time to play out. And whether it is one of these ubiquitous head and shoulders patterns, which I tend to reject because they're everywhere you want to see them, but be that as it may, what we've got so far is sort of pretty. We could come down to below 65. That would be another $4 from here. And just thrash around, rally up into the low 70s, back into the mid 60s, and that would be head and shouldering the chart, the daily chart. So I think that the high that we had recently then at basis the December contract, 76.90, I think that's going to be with us for a while.
Rick, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Always a pleasure, Jim.
My guest has been Rick Ackerman, editor of the newsletter Rick's Picks. His website, rickackerman.com. If you have any questions for Rick or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.